Welcome to SueChefs Teens. We have this program on the second Wednesday of the month at 4 o'clock. I'm Sue. My partner Eve Dickey and I started SueChefs in 2019, and now we are SueChefs Teens. With me today is Juliana. So this is a couple times that Juliana's been with us. So we're cooking together and we're not strangers today. I'm really glad to have you today. Miss Gina's running the film. She's behind the scenes. We appreciate her help, just like we do with the library. The Alexander Hamilton Memorial Free Library has consistently sponsored and helped this program over the years, and we are so grateful for this kitchen to be in and for the people that help us do this program. Also, we want to thank our two sponsors that we have. Juliana has Patriot Federal Credit Union in her hand. They have been a sponsor since we went online via Zoom in 2020 when the COVID disaster hit and we went from in-person to Zoom. They have been sponsoring us and helping us with our expenses like aprons and promoting and web pages and things like that. And also we have the Beveled Edge Granite and Countertop. They're in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. They're a husband and wife team, and they are wonderful. They did the counters at my home, and their customers are always happy because those people are so careful with your house and with their work. So we want to make sure that we honor them and thank them for their support. Today we are baking SueChefs soon-to-be famous zero sugar, no bake cookies. Now that's a mouthful. This recipe's been developed over time. It started November 2020 with my friend Julie Mummert. That's Buchanan Auto Sales, Julie Mummert. We want to give them a Yahoo hello. And we started this because I wanted to get off white sugar. Sugar is very addictive. It goes directly into the brain, to the dopamine part, serotonin, the pleasure center, just like drugs and alcohol. It is the same pathway. So sugar is highly addictive, and our recommendation, because it's not healthy, is to try to cut back on your sugar. And one way to do that is with healthy sugar substitutes. Now you can get the chemical stuff, and that does a whole lot of stuff to your body that's not healthy, or you can get natural sugar substitutes that are made from natural sources in nature, and they do not spike blood sugar like white sugar does, and they are healthier alternatives. The downside is they cost more. They're definitely more expensive, maybe 3, 4, 5 times more. So you're gonna have to pick your battles here on that one, guys. So what we're gonna use today for our sugar is, we're gonna use Splenda, which is monk fruit, which is made from monk fruit, and then allulose, which is a plant-based product that tastes like sugar. So when you pick, you can get them at Martin's, Walmart, and I'm not sure how much these cost, but I'm sure they were a whole lot more than a 5-pound bag of sugar. So just know that that's part of it. Now, one thing that's good about that is you can use a lot less. Instead of using a whole cup, or this recipe, original recipe calls for 2 cups of white sugar. And our recipe calls for a 1/2 cup of allulose and a 1/2 cup of monk sugar, or a 1/4 cup of monk sugar. So we're using 3/4 cup of sugar compared to 2. So that's really a savings, not only for your wallet, but your teeth, your blood sugar, all that. So consider that as we go forward. So Julie, you wanna get started then? Okay, cool. So we gotta do some pre-prep for this. In other words, we gotta set up before we start actually cooking. And one thing we do is we get our oats in a bowl. We're gonna measure 2 cups of oats in a bowl and have that ready. So, Julie, may I ask you to do that?
Which one do I start with?
That's a great question. So I'm gonna ask you to start with this one. And the reason I'm having her use that one is because this is a U.S. organic certified product, and it is non-GMO. So I'm gonna let her measure that out and I'm gonna tell you the difference. So these say organic, but they don't have the government seal. It costs a lot of money to have your oat factory or where you're growing oats be certified as organic. And it's important because organic means they're not using pesticides or any chemicals on their products, and they're making sure that that's not in any of it. And that stuff all goes in our body that we eat. Now, here's another product. This says non-GMO. So genetically modified organisms, I think everyone's pretty much aware of that. This says non-GMO, but it doesn't say certified organic. This one has both, certified organic and non-GMO. So I wanted to give you a little explanation, because those are two different things, GMO and organic certification.
Now, what are those handwritten notes on the bags?
So what I did was on this one, one of the comments we had was that the oats were too big. And we wanted to chop them up. So I chopped them before I put them in the bag tonight. And this one, I think it just has my name on it because I probably bought it with sous chef money.
And now, did you chop them by hand or in a food processor? Or?
You can do both, but I just put them in a bag and just kind of beat them with a spoon.
Oh, that's fun.
And it just broke them up a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. So in with our oats, we're going to add a little bit of salt so that we have that part done. Maybe a crank or two. Our recipe calls for, a crank or two of salt. So we have those in there. And then we're going to have a cup of peanut butter. And Miss Gina got us the good stuff.
Yep, I did.
Already divvied out because we need this to be ready.
I forgot to turn it upside down for you though, so it's going to be watery.
Oh, I see.
So you got to mix it good.
Yeah, she'll need a knife or something, or maybe a butter knife.
Yeah, and a good strong metal knife, not a plastic one.
Yeah.
Usually I turn it upside down when I first buy it so the oil migrates, but I forgot to do that.
That's all right. There's a lot to remember. We're not going to worry about that. We can fix that. So the reason why we want to have our peanut butter ready and our oats ready is because when we have our butter and our sugar hot with our milk, we're going to add that into these mixtures, and they need to be pre-measured out. You don't have time to measure because your chocolate will set. So that's why we're doing this prep. And the recipe does call for the prep ahead of time. It tells you to do that.
Now, is this a secret recipe, or am I allowed to put it in the description to the video?
It's not a secret. I will say there's a lot of work here, but it's not a secret, and we always want to share at SueChefs.
Okay.
We'll have to provide you maybe with a better copy. This is just, I mean, you can see it's a working recipe.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
Now, how long did you say it took to perfect this?
We started in November of 2020, and we called it Yay in March of 2021. November, December, January, February, March. So 5 months.
So you started with a pre-existing recipe and you just kept changing things and trying things.
We started with the original no-bake cookie with sugar recipe. And we took out the 2 cups of sugar and tried to add in the substitute, and then got into all kinds of trouble. Like too many oats and it was too dry, or it cooked too long and it got sticky. I mean, there was just a lot of renegotiating with this recipe. So we finally have it down to a science.
Nice.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Joe, can you bring that all the way over here when you're done, honey? So now we're ready for the cook part. Yeah, a stick of butter, and put that in our bowl. I'm going to get the cream.
So do you have a good trick to tell when butter is still good? Because
Well,
I don't even know how old that butter is.
It usually lets you know.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
like it'll smell
I did
funny.
give it the sniff test, so it should be.
What do you think, Joe?
I sniffed it the
okay.
other day.
We're good.
All right, we're good.
So which one is our thing? Is it that one?
It'll be this one.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna put it on medium heat.
You will always tell because it will be there will be a black circle.
Thank you. Getting this stuff
So this, if the black circle is here, it means this one, and if it's there up in the front right, it would be this one.
that can go in your pan. So a half a cup of allulose.
What is allulose? Is it made out of a particular plant or just plants in general? Or
I would have to look that up
I
to
was
be
just
sure.
curious.
It's been a while
What's
since.
the enzyme?
It just says plant-based, but it doesn't say a particular plant that I can see.
We begin with corn and convert it to allulose using an enzyme,
Oh, okay.
similar to the process of making cheese or wine.
So it's corn-based.
Cool.
Interesting.
So a half a cup of allulose. And we need a quarter cup of xylitol or monk fruit. You can be interchangeable with most of these sugar substitutes that are natural. The chemical ones is a whole different ballgame. And they respond differently to heat, so you don't want to get involved with them. Plus, they're not good for you. They're just not. Now, we don't have a half cup measure, so I'm going to do a quarter cup measure. So I'm just going to do a quarter. And then a half a cup of cream. Do you want to be the cream person? I like to pour it underneath, then we'd have any problems, we're okay. All right.
So you just added
A half a cup of cocoa.
to the butter and the peanut butter. The peanut butter's going in there too, right?
The peanut butter goes in after it gets hot.
Oh, okay.
So put the first 6 ingredients in the saucepan and stir constantly. As soon as it boils, you cook exactly 1 minute. So we're gonna have to be a little creative here on how we're gonna count 1 minute. Do you want to stir or do you want me to?
Yeah, I can stir.
Okay, cool.
So your butter, sugar, and cocoa. That's the first 6 ingredients.
Butter, sugar, and cocoa. Yep.
Okay.
So then I'm gonna do the cocoa story.
Uh-huh.
So the cocoa story is this. Chocolate is not fattening. Chocolate is needed in our bodies, especially if you're a girl.
Oh, yes.
And you can look that up.
Absolutely.
There are chemical compounds in chocolate that keep us from going goo goo gaga cuckoo brain. So my recommendation is that you let yourself have your chocolate. However, what they put in the chocolate is what is so fattening. Butter,
Yep.
sugar, fat. So find sugar substitutes that you like. Find our recipe. Make yourself some no-bake cookies. A little bit of peanut butter, a little bit of fat, a little bit of butter. But you don't have the sugar, and then you can have your cocoa. Another thing you can do with cocoa is get almond milk or cashew milk or even low-fat milk if you must have cow's milk. Put your cocoa in it with a little bit of sugar substitute instead of like the syrup that you get at the store, and boom, you have yourself a nice hot cocoa without all the sugar.
I'll tell you what I like to do.
What's that?
I like to freeze bananas when they get super ripe, and then put those in a blender with the cocoa powder and some milk and a little bit of sea salt, a little bit of honey maybe, and then blend it all up. That's my special chocolate banana smoothie.
That sounds wonderful, Gina.
Well, I learned from my mom, and then I added the sea salt part. Oh, and a cinnamon, I added that too.
Nice.
I've done a video about that.
Oh, bananas, chocolate, sea salt, cinnamon maybe,
Yeah, milk.
milk. And then is it like a smoothie, like a milkshake?
Yeah, you just blend it till it's like a milkshake. You can add a little honey if you want.
That sounds great. What do you think, Joel? Are we boiled yet?
Yeah.
So we want our timer when, as soon as you boil, you're a minute.
Okay.
So we gotta
Should I
boil.
stop stirring?
Keep stirring. Well, this is a tricky part because you gotta stir it so it don't stick, but you gotta let it boil too. So it's a balance.
So stir slowly.
Stir slowly.
Now I'm curious because I've heard. You ever heard anybody say sugar is sugar?
Yes.
So what's the what makes the plant-based sugar substitutes better than just sugar from a sugar cane plant?
Excellent question. So sugar from a sugar cane is fine, but we took the fiber out of it, the cane part, and then we refined the sugar chemically and changed the chemical of it so that it is not as complex. So it goes straight into the bloodstream and boom, puts your blood sugar up. It's like a trying to think of a comparable.
Just like a quick energy rush.
Yes. It's like
Sugar
instead
high.
of tapping someone, you're punching them. Sugar is a punch, and it just makes the body go veet, and then your insulin kicks in, and then when you drop back down, because your insulin kicks in to make make your blood sugar come down. Then when your blood sugar comes down in your body goes, I'm hungry. because we just had that sugar and I was way up here and now I'm way down here, so I'm hungry, and it makes you eat more.
And you also feel very tired and sick sometimes.
Correct. Crash.
Yeah.
So that's like running a marathon real fast and then stopping. It's like it does that to the body. But these sugar substitutes that are natural and plant-based, because of the way that they react, the body doesn't spike as quick. It still spikes, but it doesn't spike as quickly, and it doesn't stay up as long. So your recovery is quicker, and you don't go as far off the chart with your blood sugar spike.
And what causes that? Is that they leave more fiber in there?
I don't know. I really don't know. I'd have to like research that a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good question for us to find out.
So we're stirring slowly, and then once we hit boil, we
Start for a minute.
Yes.
then you let it boil for 1 minute.
Yes.
Still stirring.
Yes.
Okay. And you're also adding your peanut butter at that point?
We're going to add the peanut butter after we boil.
After the boil.
Yeah.
Okay.
Come to a boil a minute, and then add your peanut butter. Then that cools it down enough for, the peanut butter then melts into the chocolate so you don't have clumps.
Yeah.
And then it cools it down enough to add the vanilla, which will simply burn off if we put it in while it's too hot.
Yeah.
And then all this hot mixture goes into our pre-measured oats, and then we're spooning out on the parchment paper and eating cookies.
Nice. That's
Pretty quick.
Pretty quick.
Yeah. Thing on it that, you know.
Yeah, I have those too for cookies.
Yeah, it's just that the one we have here is too big.
Ah.
We need one about this size because these are really sweet.
Oh, okay.
And if we have one that big, I don't know. Of course, maybe people will like that.
Well, I mean, we're sending Juliana home to her parents, so we don't really care at this point if she goes gaga after eating the cookie.
She's got a point there.
I'm going to Taekwondo after. So.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, probably help you. I'm going to crank it up just a little bit. So I can't tell you how many batches we burnt because the substitute sugars react differently than regular sugar, and it'll scorch real quick, and it'll like lay in the bottom of that pan, and then you're soaking this pan overnight, and then it tastes burnt. And that was another issue with changing from regular sugar to these sugar substitutes. With the regular recipe, you cook it like 2 or 3 minutes or something. I forget because it's been a long time since I had the regular recipe. But this one, you only cook it for a minute.
Okay. So the stirring is definitely necessary.
Yeah, it's not one you can walk away from.
Okay, it's counting down.
I'm fine.
I wish I'd be worn out at Taekwondo. She made me stir. I can't do anything else.
So this just came off of the heat. We had it on for about a minute while it was boiling, so now it's time to put in the peanut butter.
All right, perfect. Now, after you spoon these out, do you have to put them in the refrigerator for a little while, or what do you do?
Well, you can if you want to heat them, you want to speed them up to set, but usually they set pretty quick.
Oh, okay.
So here's now we're ready to scoop them out. That's about the consistency you want. It's kind of like pudding with stuff in it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna, because we don't have a scooper, you just take some on a spoon and then use the back of your spoon and drop it out. I mean, they're definitely needing longer.
I'll take a few home.
Yeah.
I can put them in the fridge and then they'll...
All right. So there's for the librarians, and we'll put a spoon in just in case. Do we want to eat one? Yeah. Yeah. Miss Jean, you gonna eat one?
I will film you eating them. Yeah? So it's a success?
How do you feel about the sugar content?
I mean, you can't really tell the difference between the sugar.
You can't really tell there's a difference between the sugar.
Well, there you go.
I wish they should.
Better test it again and make sure it's really good.
Yeah, because
The first one might have been a fluke. Now, I bought creamy peanut butter, but have you ever tried it with crunchy peanut butter?
I haven't. I loved it. That was wonderful.
I almost bought crunchy, but I was like, no, Sue might say it's not supposed to be crunchy.
I'm pretty flexible after 20 years of daycare. We could have crunchy and I wouldn't have even fussed you.